Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the best show in the land, and the best way to do that is simply to say you're welcome. Now, here at NTV MEN, we talk about the things that ideally nobody wants to talk about. Tonight, we're going to talk about a very, very sticky subject, and that is nothing other than a prenuptial agreement, what some people call a prenup. Now, for those of you out there who don't know, and especially the men out there, it's very possible that before you get married, or even when you are married, to come up with a document that stipulates who owns what. Some people find it a very uncomfortable decision. Others think it is the best thing that happened. Now, don't forget, this is your show. We want to hear from you. On your screen, there is a barcode. We want you to scan it. Give us your feedback. Let's talk about the show. And we are available on all our socials. On X, it's NTV_men. Now, to talk about prenup, because it's a very sticky subject, yes, it's very sticky, a man who's not afraid of confrontation. He takes it on. Even if the confrontation is the size of an elephant, he will take it on. And it's none other than the old man of the clan, Andrew Mwenda.
Can you imagine how bad this guy is? Me, I'm a coward. I don't speak on controversial subjects. And he didn't tell me that I'm coming here to talk about prenups. Now, I'm an old man with 7 waves like me. Now you begin talking about prenups. How many would I say?
We'll be fine.
Okay.
But Andrew, just to dive straight into this, prenups are not a very African thing, but we are seeing divorces on the rise. That's a fact. Should we embrace prenups?
I think so. For people with, Ugandans were very poor. So
Ouch.
It doesn't make sense for you to sign a prenup when you have nothing to fight over. But I think that prenups are very good in the sense that when love dies in a marriage and the relationship breaks down, what remains of that marriage? It is the sharing of property. So if you define how you're going to share that property in advance, it is very good for you. So I'd advise everybody who doesn't have property or has property, because if you don't have it now, you may have it tomorrow. When you're getting married, sign a prenup, and the prenup will define how you will share the spoils when the marriage breaks down, which protects you. Because I don't even think, let me give you an example. When he was getting married, the second richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, he didn't sign a prenup with his wife. But when they were getting divorced, they had to share his wealth 50-50. I think he was worth 159 billion at that time. And it means he would have had to give his wife something like 4.5 billion. Now, the wife, I think, was very smart. They had started this company together, working together. But the shares were owned by him. The shareholders of Amazon trusted Jeff Bezos. They do not want all of a sudden to have a big shareholder who will control a particular, voting in a company is based on the shares you have. Okay, it's much more detailed than that, because there will be articles of incorporation and memorandum of association which defines how power will be distributed in the company and how decisions will be made through the board, right? So they didn't have a prenup, and she would have taken half his wealth. But that would have destroyed the company, because many investors invested because they had confidence that this person called Jeff Bezos owns this controlling stake in the company, and therefore that gives him this amount of decision-making power.
And they were comfortable with him.
Yeah. So if she took 75, many investors would exit, the company's value would be depleted, and that 159 billion could turn into 20 billion. But the wife was smart enough to say, no, I will take up to that, which does not take your controlling stake out of the company. So she accepted only 38 billion. So the man was at that time the richest man in the world and lost 39 billion to his wife, but he fell from being the richest man in the world to being the richest man in the world. In other words, he was more than $38 billion richer than the next guy. Like now you can see Elon Musk's net worth is 780 billion. The second is Jeff Bezos. He has about 280 billion. The difference, even if you took away half of Elon Musk's wealth, he would still remain the richest man in the world. He will fall from being number one to being number one. So that's what happened to Jeff Bezos at the time. And so for Bill Gates, when he was going to get married to Melinda Gates at that time, he refused to sign a prenup. I think he was so in love, he said, no, I'm not going to share. But the company shareholders refused. They said, no, we don't want anything to happen to your marriage. And all of a sudden, we have a new claimant to the shares and the controlling part of the company, a new claimant we do not know. Or at least we don't have confidence in. We have confidence in you, you have to sign a prenup. He was forced by the shareholders of the company and for the good of Microsoft to sign a prenup. So to that degree, I tell all my grandchildren in Uganda and my great-great-grandchildren that please, it is always good to sign a prenup. Now you may want to ask a question this guy is not asking, this Peter here. You old man, have you signed a prenup with your wife? No. Why? Because first, I don't have property, and even if I had property, I am not a slave of property. I don't mind sharing it with my wife 50-50 or me taking 10 and she taking 90.
But Andrew, okay, we'll get back to you. You know, you sometimes have a way of flipping the script, okay? But we'll get back to you. Because you're for it, but you're not doing it. So you're not practicing what you preach.
Exactly. First of all, always follow what I say, don't follow what I do. Because me, I'm a unique human being. I have told you, for most people, property means a lot to them. For me, I don't want to be a slave of property. Actively, and I think instinctively, I don't want to be a slave of property.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have a certain aversion to money. Seriously, I think it makes me feel sick. I see so many friends who are running after money all the time and they are stressed. And I tell them, look, guys, you're on a treadmill. Have you ever run on a treadmill?
Yeah, just keep running. You don't go anywhere.
And you can keep increasing the speed, but you stay where you are.
Yeah.
Money is like that. The pursuit of money is you can keep accumulating more and more, but the hunger, the thirst for it will also grow even exponentially more than the money is coming in. So if you are worth $1 million, you want to have 3. But when you reach 3, you want now 20. So it's such a rat race, you can never get out of it. Yes.
Cool.
So that's why I don't believe in property as something that should define me. I should be defined by so many other things rather than the physical possessions that I have.
Okay. Chris,
are you for?
What?
Okay, let me be the one pastor now. I'm becoming the interviewer. You, Chris, as a Christian pastor, what do you tell your flock when it comes to these issues of marriage and prenups? Because in Christianity, you don't recognize divorce except
that's death. The Christian. The Catholic Church. That is the Catholic.
Oh, no. Christianity across the board. Christianity does. Okay, of course, it's Christians. Jesus made 2 contradictory statements. I think in the book of Mark or Luke, Jesus was asked, should a man divorce his wife? Actually, he said yes in circumstances of infidelity. Am I correct? One of the Gospels. But in another Gospel, Jesus said, what God has put together, let no man put asunder. Now, the Christian faith across the board, all the Christian denominations, they take this second version, whereby when you're getting married, the church can never accept divorce. You can only be remarried in church if you've lost your wife. Am I correct? So they ignore one part.
You should exchange seats, man. We should come and sit here.
So in view of the fact that Christianity does not accept divorce under all circumstances accepted, only death can put you apart. Would you advise as a Christian a prenup? Now we are going to, because whatever you answer, I'm going to go into Christian theology and property.
Peter, you should moderate this conversation. You have not.
I've got his question. What's your question?
Mine was very similar to that. What are your
Peter,
thoughts?
You are not allowed to ask the pastor question. I am the one asking the question. Yes.
Okay, my thoughts. I don't think I don't want to limit it to only my thoughts, and I think you've laid it up well. And from the biblical perspective of marriage, marriage is not really about a man and a woman.
Community.
Marriage is actually about Christ's love for the church. So Paul in the book of Ephesians chapter 5 is writing the same thing that was written by Moses in Genesis chapter 2, when God creates Eve, presents her before Adam, and he's excited, and he says, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, you'll be called woman. And he's joined to his wife, and then the Bible says, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and they'll become one flesh, right? So Paul uses that same scripture in Ephesians 5. And he's talking about husbands loving their wives, wives submitting to their husbands and respecting them, etc. And he says, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. And he says, but I speak of a mystery, because I'm speaking of Christ and the church. And he says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, even to the point of death. So in other words, when you're looking at the mirror, right, you expect the image in the mirror to follow what you are doing. If you're touching your forehead, you would expect the image to be touching its forehead. But if you touch your forehead and the image is brushing its teeth, something is off, okay? And that's the challenge with how we approach marriage. If marriage is indeed a reflection of Christ's love for the church, it should be then that the way a husband loves his wife is he loves her and gives her everything, even if it means that he dies for her. Okay? What I find interesting, I'm telling you, so let me finish my piece.
Peter doesn't die,
it's okay.
die for his wife.
It's okay. Let me finish my piece. So what's interesting in Andrew's is he says no, prenups are good and all that stuff, protecting property and things like that. He talks about.
And this is me.
Wait, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, all these businesses and stuff like that. Then he says, when it comes to me, that stuff doesn't work. So here's my guess. You love your wife.
Yes.
End of story.
I love her to madness.
Exactly.
That I would catch a
So that's exactly the point I'm making. That marriage is not a business deal. Marriage is not a contract.
It is
marriage,
a contract.
No, Peter, you will say your stuff. I'm saying mine.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Marriage is not a contract. Marriage is a covenant. A covenant is superior to a contract. A covenant is irrevocable. You don't get into covenant with a way back. The old man of the clan will take you into African history and he'll tell you about Okuto Mukago and in all these places when people became covenantal brothers, not blood brothers, but covenantal brothers. It was unbreakable.
In Rutoro, we call it Okunyo Mukago.
Aha. Right? Yeah. So you find that covenant is irrevocable. There is no exit clause in a covenant. You don't lay up a small crack to say, if it gets bad, I will go through that crack and get out of covenant. You don't get out of covenant. So when you understand what marriage really is about, it's like Jesus did not die on the cross and then undie. Leave a clause of, let me die. Am I about to die? No, I want to get out. He did.
But he did.
So when you look at it that way, and you're looking at marriage as the origin of Christ's love for the church, I'll come to that. But if you look at marriage as Christ's love for the church, right? That's absolute, that's irrevocable. Yeah. That's how man is supposed to love a wife. And so you actually give not just your stuff, but yourself.
Okay.
Prenups.
I do agree with Chris, but as I've always said on this show, there's Chris and then there's the rest of us. No.
Peter, that's your way of slighting me, but it's I'm used to it.
Yes, no, I know, and I want the only Jalo to come and tell us the reality on the ground. On the ground, it's a completely different thing. Now, ideally, that's why the word divorce does exist, because ideally it shouldn't be that. We don't live in an ideal world, so you keep talking about coup-ground. Is Chris's assertion realistic?
Chris's assertion is very ideal. Perfect world, you know. People love each other and whatnot. But the research down on the ground is that 80% of the divorces in Uganda are initiated by women. It is not a perfect world. So innately, you have to. I look at marriage like a company. Mm-hmm. And like a company, you have to protect your equity. When you meet me, I'm already established as an individual. I've built my wealth. I've done this and this and that. When you're coming into this company, you have to say that, you know what? I will protect what is mine. And you know what is so weird? Recent research actually stipulates that women actually more adept to prenuptials right now than ever before, because they have realized that they are making money and some dude might come.
So they want to protect theirs.
And take all the money that they have worked for. So if you look at it in a business term, I've built my wealth. You should sign prenups.
All right, guys, we do need to go into a quick break. But when we come back, I like what the direction Okello has taken about a business. Whether we like it or not, when you're building something, should you have a business mind? Don't answer that yet, Andrew. We'll be right back after the break. We are here at Sangha Courts having a discussion about prenups. Are you a man who's in that place where you're trying to make up your mind? It's not because you do not trust your woman, but you want to protect your people and your future. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. We're here at Sangha Courts having a conversation about prenups. Are you a man out there who's trying to make up your mind as to whether you should sign a prenup or not? Then you need to follow the show. If you've just joined us, you're about to have almost missed half of your life, but don't worry, you'll catch up. Now, we want to hear from you. There is a barcode on your screen. Scan it and let's get this conversation going. Or you can also follow us. That's on NTV Men _UG on X, and we will keep the conversation going. Now, Andrew, you know, when we started, you mentioned something very interesting. You said that prenups are not really for us as Ugandans because we are poor. Now, when you look at a lot of and I put it in quotes, developed societies, one of the things they've mastered together is working together. Now, love sometimes fades. You can't build your whole life based on love. Now, if I'm going to marry, because when I'm choosing a woman, should I choose somebody who I know I can build with, somebody who can make money for me? And then if I'm doing that, shouldn't we not only just protect the man, but also protect the woman? So what she has brought to the table, should even I misbehave, still remains hers.
I want to reconcile the two arguments, one by my great-grandson, Okello, and then my grandson here, Chris. You see, historically, marriage today is very different. The foundations of marriage today are different from foundations of marriage in those days. Previously, marriage was not a relationship between one person and another, a man and a woman. It was a relationship between communities, between families, or between clans. It wasn't something you entered as an individual. And those marriages never ended. My parents lived together for 55 years. Those marriages never ended because the foundation of marriage was not love. Either it was economic, you are marrying into the other family because of economic resources, or it was of politics, you're marrying into that family in order to create the unity of different countries or different groups. Remember, the King of France, Louis XVI, who is president of France during the French Revolution of 1789, was married to the daughter of the Emperor of Austria. Later, Napoleon himself married the daughter of when he divorced, what was his name? Her name. When he divorced his first wife, he married Josephine. He married a daughter of the Emperor of Austria to unite France with Austria. So those marriages were convenient marriages. Then there are other marriages because there was a blood feud between my clan and yours, and we marry as a way to unite the two clans or to bring them together, to find peace. Some African kingdoms, when they wanted to unite, like if Museveni wanted to unite Uganda, if he marries a wife from every tribe of Uganda, then he would be a son-in-law to every tribe, in which case, if we allowed Museveni to have 40 wives, he would be in a better position to unite this country. So those were the issues of the time.
Yeah.
With the advent of the Industrial Revolution and people beginning to live in urban areas, now came the idea that people get married because they have fallen in love. Now realize that love is too fleeting a thing sustain such a weighty institution as marriage.
Chris,
Marriage
I'm taking
needs to
notes.
be sustained by something much more powerful than a sentiment or a feeling called love. Because love is an intense, romantic feelings for somebody.
Depends
Those
on how
can
you
always
define
fade.
love, right? Depends on how you define love. Because Parsi will define love
Differently.
totally
But the
different.
mainstream way we would understand love is that it is an intense, romantic attachment to somebody. And that attachment, if it fades, then what keeps the marriage? But when we are married because of those economic, political, or cultural reasons I've talked about, it is difficult for these marriages to get dissolved. I have many Indian friends here in Uganda. When they want to get married, they go to India. And the parents select a wife, and he meets the wife at the wedding day. They actually, those marriages don't break.
Yeah.
Here in Uganda, we have taken the Western world road. You meet a girl, you fall in love, you date, and once they get married, right now in Kampala, 55% of all marriages end in divorce. Are you aware? 55% of
That's
marriages.
not true.
Well, I'm telling you, the number from, is it USA,
It's actually
Uganda
true.
Registration Services Bureau, URSB, is that 55 or 50% of registered marriages end up in divorce in Kampala,
Initiated by women.
in the middle class families of Kampala. And I think because the foundation of these marriages now has increasingly become love, which is an intense feeling rather than something strong and foundational. So,
Yeah.
to the degree that if you're a person who's, let me give you an example. I have so many friends I know who have married, they have dated girls for 6 years, they married after 2 years, they divorced. I asked them, but you dated and cohabited with this girl for 6 years. So now why are you divorcing after 2? Because they feel like marriage sometimes creates settled expectations. Once people get settled, they take each other for granted. And once they take each other for granted, it leads to a pattern of behavior and responses to crisis that lead to the dissolution of the marriage.
So, does it
In those
Yeah.
circumstances, if marriage is that transient, you see, that's why I agree with the Okello.
Yeah.
In those circumstances, I would advise somebody to have a prenup. But if you are a person with strong and deep religious convictions, like my grandson Christian, whether you're Muslim, a Hindu, or a Christian, but you have these deep religious convictions, and you look at your marriage through the Christian lens, there's no need for you to sign a prenup because you are in this for life.
Yeah, but you see,
But I would not give that advice to everybody because tomorrow they'll be fighting over property, and I don't want people to lose
but
their
then
property.
Andrew, you at one point, well, you said you were born a Christian, then you stopped being a Christian. So
No,
it
I
can
never
stop.
stopped. I was born in
But
a
Andrew,
Christian
you see
family.
that.
Let me explain to you. I was born in a Christian family, raised in a Christian family, and I told you that I'm a non-Christian Christian. And you said, what does that mean? I said a secular Christian. Secular means a non-belief in God. The values, norms, and ethics that I hold dear are Christian.
Yeah.
I'm heavily influenced by the teachings of Jesus Christ on love, on tolerance, on forgiveness, on patience, on charity. In that sense, I'm in and out a Christian.
Yeah.
If I got into a crisis, I would say, oh my God. But I don't believe that God exists. I don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God, because God doesn't even exist, or he was a deity. I believe that I look at Jesus as a moral philosopher, the way I look at, say, Socrates. That's my other hero and moral philosopher.
Yeah.
So I look at Jesus from a moral, secular lens, not from a religious, faith-based lens. So I'm a Christian, but a secular Christian.
That's interesting.
Peter,
So Chris,
yeah,
Chris, what do you say about that anyway?
let me hear you, Chris, first. I'm coming. I have a lot to say. Trust me, I do.
I can imagine.
Yes.
so you see, Chris,
A pastor.
I think sometimes we get it a bit twisted because, again, we don't live in an ideal world. Things happen. And I see the danger with what you are, for lack of a better term, preaching, is that, go into this thing. As a man, commit yourself to your woman. It's all about the man, the man, the man. And the man is then exposed because the reality is even Christian women walk away from men. And there are good people and bad people, both Christians and non-Christians. So the fact that, I'm married to this woman, I find out later she's not a good woman. Should I just slug it out there and let her mistreat me? I should be able to say, no, I'm sorry, I'm done, and I walk away. You've been divorced
Me, no.
Never, ever, ever.
Never. Not even for 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Since I met my wife as a young girl of 21, I have never, even for 1 second, contemplated the idea of us being separate.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Peter.
And that's 24 years ago.
Yeah.
I want to first of all say I'm a very simple man. Like not simplistic, but simple. I don't think I'm as complicated to understand as this grandfather of the clan. He's a whole maze of things. I'm very simple. I believe in God, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God. That's where I'm coming from. I come from a very strong background of faith and all practice in Christ Jesus. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. So if you're not coming from where I'm coming from, you most likely will totally disagree with my views, and that's fine. That's why there's that many of us here. Okay, so that's one. The second thing I want to say is, in a very weird way, I agree with some of the stuff he said. And let me
convince you.
Don't worry, I am right
He's a
here.
politician.
Don't worry, I am right here. I'm right here, and I will hold. No.
Let him speak. Huh?
No, I will hold my fort. Also, to correct the record, I don't know how the math works, but there are very many marriages in this country. We will all know, if we've been opening our eyes in this country, that there's actually a couple of marriages that were officiated in places which were not officially registered. Okay, so they're not duly registered, and so some of these places of worship and all that stuff need to clean up their job. You've been in leadership in this country a long time, we know that that's true. But of the few that have been cleaned up and registered in the Registration Bureau, I think there's about 3,600 and something. And it's true that the number of registered divorces is high. Of the registered ones, it's about 1,300. If I do my math, 1.3 over 3.6 is about 36%. Wouldn't you agree? So it's not 55. I just wanted to put that record straight. The highest divorce rate actually in the country is Portugal, where Ronaldo comes from. It's 98%. So crazy.
You're good at scoring goals.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
98%.
Yeah, it's 98% in Portugal. But that's not the point. I don't want to derail myself. So let me just come back to what I wanted to say. So the Bible says God is love. Okay? And then he says love is patient, it's kind, doesn't keep a record of wrongs, and etc. That's 1 Corinthians 13. And when he's ending the discourse on love, he says, love never fails. So it's interesting. It's possible for me to disagree with this grandfather of the clan, but it's possible for me to love him anyway. Right?
Yeah, true Christian.
And so, whereas we may disagree, my love for him or his love for me would be able to cross boundaries so that we can coexist. Okay, so love in its purest form and sense does not fail. Okay? Don't listen to what I'm saying. But the basic thesis of my book is unsupported love fails.
What is unsupported love?
Okay, so thank you for asking the question. When you look at Genesis chapter 2, it talks about, so Genesis, God creates the world. He forms all these things, puts things in place, birds, animals, and all that stuff. He forms provision for man and then creates man in a world where there is provision. There is fortitude, okay? He's safe, he's provided for, and all that stuff. And then the man is lonely, he's alone, finds him as he has no suitable helper, and then he makes a woman out of his rib and brings her to him. All right? And he says, this is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She will be called woman. So one is, there's a foundation of care and admiration, and then there is a friendship that builds, right? Then the man was joined to his wife and became one flesh, and the two were naked and unashamed. There's a fulfillment, there's a settlement. So just from that scripture, the framework of my thesis is that when you're looking at marriage, you meet because of love, but you don't stay married long just because of love. So that's the point at which I agree with him. So you'll find that true marriage, right, has got to have fortitude, which has things like boundaries, right? Creating boundaries or control.
And is prenup a boundary?
No, not in that sense.
Yeah.
All right. But boundaries, things like stewardship or custodianship of money. You know, it's a real thing. There's got to be some provision, right? Building something that works and being adaptable. So I don't want to get into the detail of that, but the point is that there's got to be fortitude. The relationship needs to feel safe. So that's why the grandfather of the clan says prenups are good and all that. Jeff Bezos does it, but those are Americans thousands of miles away. When it comes to him, says, me, I don't do it. Because he's keeping his wife safe. They've had safety for 24 years. So you will find that he's putting fortitude around her. That's why they're together. The second thing is you will find that there is a foundation of care, a foundation of forgiveness, because you cannot be married if you don't forgive. It's not possible. All right? Yeah. So there is that foundation of care that again sort of bonds a marriage. The other is friendship. Like, look, you cannot be married to a person you don't love. There is no joy. There's no conversation.
Are you on the ground?
I'm very much on the ground. And that's why I'm married 22 years. Okay? So friendship is a real thing where you're able to open up your heart to someone and they understand you and see you for who you are. Sometimes they may not agree. Sometimes they let you be. But there is a friendship and a respect there. And then the last thing is fulfillment. Doing something important together. You know, like you're
making money.
It could be making money. It could be looking after orphans. It could be starting churches.
Because money drives.
But what I'm saying is there's something that's important that you're doing. So I find that just in Genesis chapter 2, from verse 15 to verse 25 is an entire framework that supports marriages. And God already gave it to us. So in there, one of the things is covenant. One of the things is covenant. You leave your father, you leave your mother, you are joined to this person, and that's the deal. So you cannot come without everything that you are. In fact, one of the things, Peter, that we need to talk about here is not just about money in terms of having it, but is also talking about money in terms of not having it and in terms of negative. Because sometimes people get married with a whole ton of debt. Right? So we need to have some financial conversations about that, but it doesn't have to mean that you need a prenup. It actually means that you all are coming from a background where you're coming from, you have baggage, you've got good things, you work it out, and you live covenantally.
Okay,
I have so much more to say.
We do have to get into a break right now. Now, we're here at Sangha Courts having a very sticky conversation about prenups. Whenever it comes to money, Andrew Mwenda says that I love money. Everybody does. It's what makes the world go round. And in the Bible, it says money makes all things okay.
Why are you lying?
We'll be right back after
And it doesn't.
Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we're in the final part of talking about prenups. Are you a man out there who's worried, especially if you've worked hard for your money, that somebody's going to come and take it away? If so, talk to us. There is a barcode on your screen. Scan it. I hope you've got a smartphone, because if you don't, then you've got more work to do rather than looking for a prenup to sign. And also, let's have this conversation on X. Our hashtag is NTV Men _UG. Now, guys, and the Oni Jalu, not anymore though. I want to start with you. Now, you see, when we talk about part of a man's job is to protect his family. I think we can all agree on that. Now, we cannot forget the fact that sometimes there are things like blended families that are there. Now, you don't sign a prenup, okay? Here you are. You've got your family from one other side, all right? Then things just don't work out for whatever reason. Because even and again, Chris, with all due respect, what you're talking about is an ideal situation. But we don't live in an ideal world. Things happen.
Peter, that's your opinion. When I have an opportunity, I will qualify. So
All right.
don't label
Okay.
me.
Okay.
You can stand on yourself.
Okay.
On your opinion, I'll stand on mine.
Okay.
Don't label me.
Okay.
Why are you rattling the man of
With
God?
unlabeled, without labeling certain people, okay? Now, if you don't have a prenup, and then you, for whatever reason, you have to part ways with this lady, is it right for her to take 50% of, or even sometimes more, of what you have got, and then expose the rest of your family? Sometimes also because you do not own it, even in death, which ties in closely with a will, you leave your people exposed. So have you then protected them? Because you are supposed to protect them.
So I'll answer this by asking a question. Previously, women shunned against prenups. Like, if you look at the research, women are the first people who would say, like, no, I cannot enter a relationship, and you're telling me to sign a prenup. Because, they look at it like you're looking at it from a viewpoint that the relationship is going to fail. That is why you're signing a prenup. In recent times, and this is according to research, women actually advocating for prenups more than men.
Yeah.
And why is this happening? Because they have realized that, I can work for this money.
And this
I can build my wealth. And then some random dude just comes and takes it.
The negative guy that Chris was talking
Yeah,
about.
in an ideal world, the way Africans are built, prenups does not make any sense. But we're not living in an ideal world. We are copy and paste of the Western society. I mentioned at the beginning of the show, 80% of the divorces in Uganda are initiated by women. My guy, protect your wealth.
Protect
This
your
guy will
genes.
come. Lady will come. And go with all your wealth. Kugraundi, it is happening.
Yeah.
So sign that prenup. It's important, my guy.
Peter, just allow me to say here, when we're ending last year, Stefan said he was going to marry
Well, my guy, it is not about me.
his
We
baby
are not
mama.
here about that.
No, you see, we need to be honest. At least he said, the Americans are doing it, but I don't do it. So let's bring this thing home. And you said you're going to marry.
Sips coffee.
Yeah, you're going to marry your person.
I will send a prenup.
No, that's different.
So wait,
I cannot sign a prenup.
are you hearing that?
No, listen, no, let me
Exactly.
can I explain? Because you're pointing fingers at me. Can I explain?
Please.
It's different.
Yeah, tell us about it. Tell us how different.
No, me and my woman have come up together. You understand?
Okay.
We have raised each other together.
Yeah.
We have built this wealth together. We know the hassle that it took for us to do this and that. There is a woman who will find me in my years of hustle. I've built my wealth and decide, a younger woman, Gen Z, and I'll marry Jaluo. I'll get married to this guy. And then 2 years, I will divorce the guy. What do you say about that?
So you see, Peter, I just wanted to say here,
Yeah.
and,
If
and
you
for
marry
every, for
a
every,
woman who's looking for
wait,
isn't that equality
no,
in
but
Uganda?
but the point I am
She has
making.
come as a
Don't
fortune
lie to our young boys.
Wait,
Don't lie to our young
the
boys.
point I am making,
And the young girls.
and I just want you to open your ears and listen. In fact, if you haven't followed this and you just joined in, I'd like you to get onto X, find that link, go back, watch the show. Everybody talking about a prenup talks about it in a distance. When it comes to them, they don't do it. Also,
I have done it.
Because me, I cannot divorce my woman.
Wait,
I
let me
have done
finish.
it.
You know.
Also, you will notice.
has done it.
Also, you will notice that the people who say they've done it are not wearing a ring. They aren't officially married.
That's not true.
I really want you to think about this. There is no way you can have covenantal love and you leave the door open. The prenup leaves the door open.
By the way, one of the points, Peter, that Chris could be making, I also have a suspicion that in signing a prenup, sometimes you should be careful. First of all, I encourage you to sign a prenup, but be careful that you could be creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Because inside the prenup is you create possibilities that you're going to divorce.
Yeah.
In which
Thank
case
you.
it can lead you directly where you don't do,
Exactly.
where you have decided.
Exactly.
No, not really.
You know
Not
why,
really.
why I
Not
beg to
really.
differ with
See,
you?
do you see why
no.
I agree with the old man on the clan?
not
In
really.
there, he's
Not
making a
really.
point.
Not really. Recent
Hey,
research.
relax. Let the man talk.
No, I just want to just say one small thing. You see, Andrew, the thing is, you cannot say you got divorced because it was in the prenup. That can't be the
No,
cause
He
of
said
the
it's a
divorce.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
The point
Yeah.
I'm making is the whole issues of a prenup is that you have opened doors and opportunities for divorce.
Exactly my point.
Because let me tell you why I don't have a prenup and I don't know the one. Maybe I could say two reasons. When I met my wife, on the first day of our meeting, I had not even talked to her. She was talking to a friend of mine who was introducing us.
Yeah.
The way she stood there speaking calm and all this, I think my brain scanned her and said, this is the woman I want to live with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I've never changed that. So there was no reason for me to anticipate, to prospect, to expect that we are going to be separated.
Yes.
In fact, even when we started dating, I told her, if this relationship were to end, it will be caused by you. It will be your decision. Me, I will not end this relationship under all circumstances, in good or in bad times. So I go to when they are married people in church, what they say. So, but of course, so I would advise somebody that if you are going to sign a prenup, you are already setting the ground for the fact that there is a possibility of divorce, and it's likely to
You
become
most likely will take
a
it.
self-fulfilling prophecy. That's always my fear with the prenup.
Yeah.
And but nonetheless, given the modern times in which we live, there is a point you are making. A guy has hustled, made his money. A girl may approach this man where her intentions are not the covenant you're talking about, but she's approaching him as a fortune seeker. She wants to marry him, find an excuse in the middle of marriage, and dissolve the marriage and take 50%.
Yeah.
So if you are not sure about this woman,
Don't marry her.
No, not really. You know. Let me say this. You know, people.
Why do you guys? You
people
go
somehow-
pick
No,
a
let me-
woman
let
from
me-
the
let me-
bar.
let me-
You're
What is wrong
drunk.
with picking women from the
You're
bar?
drunk.
No, let me say
You
this.
pick her
There's
and
nothing
and,
wrong with picking a woman.
and then she makes off with your money and
No,
you
no,
wonder
bars don't
what-
define people.
Okay,
Let me
but
just say
one thing,
this.
Okello,
That's the
Okello,
problem.
you made an
Just wait,
interesting
let's
point.
hear you.
You said you and your wife have raised each other together, which is a great point. In which case, for you, don't read the prenup, given how you know you are
This individual, yeah.
So now we come to Chris's point. Why do you marry this woman you don't trust for it? Because signing a prenup is an expression of doubt
You know,
in the
listen.
relationship, in the endurance of that
There's
relationship.
nothing. Let me say, there's nothing that is a constant. When we meet these individuals, we don't see the future, and it
How come you're saying it with your wife?
no, because we have raised each other. I know this individual. You understand?
So why don't you raise
But I'll say
yourself
this.
with that
Let
girl who come
me give my point. You know, when we flip this and we always look at it from, as a society, when you look at it from a woman's perspective, just look at it like this. A woman has toiled, has worked, she's worked for, she's a single mother, she has worked for her kids, she has raised her finances, and then she meets a man somewhere who wants to marry her. What advice would you give her? You know, I've realized that when you look at it from a woman perspective, we actually now think that prenups are actually good.
No, I'll tell you what. We unfortunately, you know, time flies when we're having fun. Now, the reason why we'll stay away from that is this show is called Men, not Women. So we're not going to look at it from the women's
No,
perspective.
because I know when it comes to
but-
men, we're very aggressive on men.
But yes, because we are men. But as we wrap up and we have our parting shots, I'd want us to think about one thing. And we're going to start with you, Mr. Okello.
The only Jalo.
The only Jalo in the
Important.
building at the moment.
Yeah.
Guys, one of the things I want us to think about is when you get comprehensive insurance on your vehicle, are you preempting an accident? Your parting shot.
My parting shot is very simple, and I've said this numerous times on this show. You need to look at marriage like, you know, a company, your company.
Your insurance policy.
A company. You have built your wealth as an individual. Whether you're a man or a woman, you have built your wealth, you have toiled all your life. What is so bad with someone getting into this company and you're telling this individual that, you know what, I've built this, and to protect me, to protect this company, this institution, I want you to sign this. What we make in this institution will be ours, but what you found here remains here. What is so wrong with that? Protect your equity, young man.
That is the question.
Very important.
Only Chris can answer.
Chris, your parting shot.
So the Bible says and teaches that men should love their wives like they love their bodies. So it's very difficult, and it's only extreme mental cases where someone can cause self-harm. Most of the time, we self-preserve. So if you're the head and your wife is the body, the head does not harm the body, right? So the idea in marriage is that when your wife joins you and you become one unit, you have become one, all right? And you need to understand what covenantal love is about. It's a joining of two people who become one flesh. So she's part of you. She's not a taker. She's not coming to take. She's coming to add. She's coming to create a synergy. Before we got married, I bought land and I put it in both my names and my fiance's names because I was sure I was going to marry her. We're just waiting for the date to happen. We opened joint bank accounts.
Before you got married?
Yeah, my parting shot, Peter. We opened joint accounts. And we have worked together concerning money, concerning marriage. All my property that is mine is hers. It's in my names and her names. Before we got married, there's a relative of hers who said, women who come from this tribe, we are clever. You have to have something on the side. And she says, I don't do side stuff. If it turns out that it turns out fake, God will deal with me. Help me. So the point is this: when you're getting into a covenantal relationship, which is what marriage is, it's not a contract, it's covenant. Go all in, all right? Close the door. Don't leave any possibility for an out clause, just like that old man in the clan was saying. And I think it's absolutely important because, like he said, when you leave a prenup, it can be a prophecy that you're actually going to fulfill. You say, in cases of divorce, this is what will happen. Guess what happens to you? Exactly that.
Okay. Andrew, your parting shot.
Well, I would say that the philosopher, Isaiah Berlin, said, wisdom, I can't remember, wisdom is the ability to hold two contradictory ideas and still be able to function. So I hold two contradictory ideas and the continue function. One is an idea I would advise people to follow, and which I follow, that I would not send a prenup, nay. And two, I would advise that if you're getting married, understand the person you are marrying, and if you know them well, there's no need for a prenup. But if you're not sure of the person you are marrying and you are prospecting that the things may fall apart, you have these doubts, please sign a prenup. And beware that when you sign a prenup, you're opening a window of a prophecy that is likely to become self-fulfilling, because you may act towards the prenup. You set a destination and you walk directly there. So there is that serious contradiction you have to walk.
Yeah.
In that sense, if you're not sure about the woman, always protect yourself and sign a prenup. But if you are sure of her, what is a prenup for then?
Okay. All right. So you've heard it from the men today. We have been talking about prenups. Something to chew on. I believe in prenups. I mean, this world, people are just getting crazy.
That's why you signed one.
That's why I signed one. Yes. And I can say it. I'm not going to be like this guy. Okay.
No way.
No way. Why you like to
No
us?
way.
So don't forget, this is your show, the one that talks about the things that ideally a lot of people don't want to talk about. Take good care of yourselves. Have a good night. God bless. And we will see you next week only on your favorite show. And that is Men.